Newsome and Lincoln Stars broadcaster Joel Norman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome to the 2022-23 first show of the year for Outside the Box. I'm Rocky Russo, head coach of the Lincoln Stars, joined by the new face, or voice, of the Lincoln Stars, Joel Norman. Joel, welcome to Outside the Box and welcome to Lincoln, Nebraska.
Thanks, Rocky. Not the new face of the team. I've got a face for radio. That's why I'm doing that. But happy to be here nonetheless.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you, and it's been a quick transition for you into town just a couple weeks ago, coming off of a baseball season that you were working, but you're familiar with our organization. For those of you that are fans of the Lincoln Stars, you know that our ownership group also owns the North Iowa Bulls and the Mason City Toros, located in Mason City, Iowa. And Joel was a part of our Mason City Toros staff in the winter months, and then calling some baseball in Wenatchee, Washington, right?
Yeah, right smack dab in the middle of the state, too. Baseball was kind of the first sport I really started to do a lot out of college, but jumped into hockey a little bit. Did a lot of hockey at college. That was the first sport I ever called, and last year got a great opportunity in Mason City, and happy to be here in Lincoln, jumping up a few tiers.
Where'd you go to school?
West Virginia University.
Mountaineer.
Yes, sir.
Ironically, our owner, Alberto Fernandez, was a football player at the University of West Virginia back in the day. So you guys immediately have something in common and something to chat about.
Oh, I met Alberto for the first time a couple of weeks ago. Now I'm kicking myself I didn't mention WVU in there. But
well, he's around a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know that Antonio Fernandez, his son, is back with us for a second year. We're very fortunate to have him. He's on the injured list right now, but we could expect to see him back in full uniform and ready to go here in about 2 weeks. So we'll see a lot of Alberto. He loves our Stars. He loves to support our program. He's a fantastic owner, and as a dad, he loves to watch his son play. So this is his last kick at the can. Antonio just recently committed to the Princeton University, and he'll be moving on to Jersey next year to be a Princeton Tiger, and so he'll finish his junior career up here in Lincoln.
It's going to be exciting. I'm excited to see what Antonio can do. I mean, for you, it's got to be kind of nice to have him back, because that's a guy you've had. This will be your third year with him. But in general, the team, there's a ton of returning players this year, which I think has got to be a lot of fun in your place. You know where guys are at, but I think it's been enjoyable to see guys kind of step into the roles that were here last year, and then how these other newcomers have come in. And obviously it worked out really well last week, Rocky.
Well, we did have a good week last week, and we'll talk a little bit about the results there at the Fall Classic in Cranberry, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But certainly having, junior hockey is a different animal than most other sports. You don't keep your players long term. It's not like college where you've got them hopefully for 4 years. You're going to have them for a year, 2 years, if you're really lucky, 3 years. But these guys matriculate on to university, NCAA Division I hockey, and then on to pro hockey. And so you have to do two things to be successful here. You have to develop your younger players so that they can step into larger roles the following year. And you have to draft really, really well in the USHL so that you have your cupboard full, so to speak. Your affiliate list has to be strong with your 16-year-olds and your 17-year-olds that are kind of waiting in the wings to step up. And what you're seeing right now from our group is guys like Mason Marcellus and Tanner Ludke and Doug Grimes taking on a big role. Cameron Whitehead obviously is a monster in the net, and Tanner Ludke's a perfect example of that affiliate list. He started the year with us last year prior to the Minnesota high school season. He played 11 games. He played every game. He was killing penalties. He was playing a big role on our penalty kill. He goes back to high school, has 61 points in the high school season, returns to us, plays in the playoffs. He's a part of the stretch run, and that is just unbelievable experience for a kid like that. And then he comes back after a great summer, and he was one of the guys that just stuck out immediately when we were playing those 2 games last week.
And obviously he stuck out first game of the season, scoring 14 seconds in. I don't think anyone had been fully sat at the UPMC Lemieux Sports Complex, and he got things going. And I don't think it's any, and we talked about this earlier today, I don't think it's any coincidence you brought those 3 players you brought up, Marcellus, Grimes, and Ludke are all in the same line and all been clicking to start the season as well.
Well, Mason has invaluable experience playing, half the year last year as a center, and then we transitioned him to a wing, put him on the line with Aiden Thompson and Lucas Wall. And Aiden, third in the league in scoring, committed to Denver, drafted in the third round by the Chicago Blackhawks. Lucas Wall, and what a story from Lucas. Obviously, our fans know he played Tier 3 a couple years ago in Mason City. Then he plays in Kenai River, Alaska in the North American League at the Tier 2 level. He comes to the Tier 1 USHL level as a 20-year-old, scores 30 goals, plays on the top line, gets a full scholarship. And so Mason got the luxury of playing with those two players, and he did a great job of complementing the both of them. But his experience, confidence in those tough situations, playing hard minutes, playing in all different aspects of the game was something that you cannot replace when it comes to the way he's playing already as the puck dropped early on our new season.
And he's looked really comfortable on the power play too. Obviously 2 goals. That first one got a little bit of puck luck on last Thursday, but they all count the same. A good goal, similar spot that side. I mean, the special teams have really been impressive early on, and going up against the team this weekend in Sioux Falls, who scored, I'm trying to remember, they had the 8-goal victory the one day, and I think it was they lost, but scored the first 2 goals the previous day. You've probably got to figure there's going to be a lot of goals early in the season, especially because guys are flying a little bit more early on, and defenses are still figuring out some schematics. Would you agree?
Yeah, it all depends on the prioritization of what the coaching staff is doing with their team. If you're prioritizing working from the net out, then you've spent a lot of your time early on in the training camp season working on defense, and that happens to be what we do. We feel like you win games from the net out, so we want to make sure that we're going to defend properly. We're going to understand our responsibilities in our own end. And then the next thing we work on is transition. How quickly can we take the puck back and reattack? And so we're working on our neutral zone regroups. We're understanding where we're supposed to be, our puck support, our routes, etc. And then all these guys are so gifted, right? They've all played at the highest levels of youth hockey and played junior hockey. So the offensive instincts are there. And so you don't have to really break that down as much. Now, the way we play in the offensive zone is 5 guys and everybody moving. It's gone away from the traditional thought process of 3 forwards playing offense and 2 D standing at the blue line. Our D are very active. They're down the walls, down the dots. They're encouraged to be a part of our offensive zone. And so that becomes something that is very new for them. And that takes time. And, we showed some video this morning at practice where, I'm like, hey guys, here, look, like here was the opportunity to do this. And you're not seeing it yet. They're going to see it, but it'll take a little bit of time. And so that's where you have to kind of teach and make them understand spatial awareness and going to the puck instead of going away from the puck. But they have the natural instincts to find soft spots and score goals. And so you let that stuff evolve naturally, and you just commit yourself to being a 200-foot hockey team that's hard to play against, that's going to win their races, finish their checks, touch pucks first, and have high energy. And you watch those games up close, and I think that we brought that right away.
Absolutely. From the preseason games, I felt like this team was going to be dictated by what it would do at the blue line. I think you had a lot of guys who could make a case as the team's top defenseman, and would be a lot of teams' top defenseman. I thought it all kind of started there. Boston Buchberger looked fantastic and really comfortable last week, as Cole Krusberg-Rosine as well. And then we mentioned him earlier, you're going to get Antonio Fernandez back at some point here. I mean,
and we're going to get Henry Nelson back.
And Henry Nelson. Yeah.
Henry Nelson is, he's not forgot about, but he's waiting in the wings as he's recovering from surgery. And so you're probably not going to see Henry until about Thanksgiving, but that's almost like making that blockbuster trade and getting a player of his caliber in November instead of waiting until, the trade deadline in March. You're getting a top 4 power play difference-making defenseman that's going to hop into your lineup and knows what the expectations are, knows the systems, knows the structure. He's comfortable with our team, comfortable with our guys. And we're happy Henry came in for the first couple of days of training camp and got to know the guys. He's back at home in Minnesota rehabbing his injury, but we expect he'll be joining us here probably in the next few weeks full time.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, it's going to be a really busy battle for the blue line in a lot of ways for your team, because you came in, you start the season with 8 guys there. Obviously, Antonio's hurt right now. Henry Nelson's hurt. And all of a sudden, you're going to have a lot of guys battling. And I feel like everyone's shown a lot of reasons for why they should be in there, which is why you've dressed 7 defensemen a few games. But talk to me about that. It's got to be a nice problem to having lots of depth.
It is. And you know what, the one thing that I like the most about the USHL is they're about the developmental side of things. So they allow us to dress a 13th forward and a 7th defenseman every night. And so, in the old days, those guys would be sitting in the stands a lot. They wouldn't get the opportunity to be on the bench, get some minutes, start to experience different situations and grow and develop from those. So, you're going to get some of those younger guys some more minutes than maybe you would in the past. And you look at a guy like Adam Kleber. He's a 16-year-old kid. He's committed to the University of Minnesota Duluth. He's going to be a high NHL draft pick come his draft year. But you want to talk about a kid that has adjusted quickly to USHL hockey as a young man that came out of high school hockey last year. And, he's going to have his ups and downs like any young kid does. But, man, is he mature and composed and just understands his game, understands what we're trying to accomplish, and he's been really fun to watch early on this year.
We're talking Lincoln Stars hockey here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Joel Norman, the new voice of the Lincoln Stars, alongside head coach Rocky Russo. And Rocky, I want to switch things up a little bit. I've been getting a lot of people asking me this week, are you excited for the home opener? I'm saying, well, obviously I am. And a lot of the things they've been asking about, well, you haven't seen the star drop yet. You excited about that? Tell me the things I need to be looking for that's probably going to get me the most excited for this home opener.
You're gonna have those goosebumps, those shivers when it comes time for our intro. I've been around junior hockey for a long time, going on. This is my 18th year, and Lincoln, Nebraska, and the Lincoln Stars at one time was the mecca of junior hockey. And winning a Clark Cup and producing guys like David Backus and Zach Aston Reese. And, there's just a special feel to our building when it's go time. And you don't feel that in an exhibition game. They wanted to drop the star during our last exhibition game. And Corey Courtney, who's the unofficial mayor of Lincoln, he's been working in the USHL for close to 25 years. He's been here in Lincoln for probably close to 20. And he looked at me and he's like, no, that star is reserved for the home opener. And he's like, what do you think? I'm like, you're absolutely right. Let's wait. And because we wanted our guys that hadn't been a part of that to feel that in the first game. And I've talked to now friends of mine that played in this league 15, 20 years ago that are like, we hated coming to play in the ice box because you skate out on the ice and then the light show is like a Dave Matthews Band concert and the music and the star and everything that goes into what really defines Lincoln Stars hockey all happens in those first couple minutes. And you'll get a special feeling and you'll know that you're in a junior hockey holy ground, so to speak, when it comes to the ice box.
What really excited me about joining this team was its history. The number of guys who've gone on to the NHL. Obviously, the first guy who stood out was David Backus. I'm from Pittsburgh, so obviously Zach Aston Reese was a guy who I knew as well. How exciting is that for you? Obviously, you've been doing this in junior hockey for a few years, of course, with Amarillo before. How exciting is it for you at times to maybe you ever sit back and be like, I've got some special guys who I really am excited to see where they go in a couple of years?
Oh, without question. I remember going back to, when it was time to take this job, I had talked to a couple NCAA Division I schools about some jobs, and a good friend of mine who played in Waterloo, ironically, when he played junior hockey, said to me, Rocky, he's like, you cannot go to college right now. He's like, you have an opportunity to be the head coach of the Lincoln Stars. And guys would give their left leg to be the head coach of the Lincoln Stars. And so go there, recreate the magical moments that happen in that ice box and restore the history that was the Lincoln Stars, and he's like, you'll write your ticket to wherever you want to go next. And you weren't here to see some of the things that happened last year, but we had some incredible moments at home, scoring 2 goals in the last 30 seconds of a game to tie it up, and then winning it in the first shift of overtime. Just game after game, our guys had an unbelievable approach and never gave up, never felt like they were out of the game. And that group was special. Noah Laba gets drafted. Cameron Whitehead, who's back, gets drafted. Aiden Thompson gets drafted. There's a ton of guys going on to play college hockey that are going to be special players. And there's going to be, Joe LeMay was already drafted. There's going to be guys on that team from last year, no doubt, that play in the National Hockey League as very, very impactful players. And I think if you look at our team this year, there's another handful of guys that you're going to see play in the NHL.
One of the things I remember you saying after last season when I heard it was you saying that you told your players from last year, you felt like they kind of put the Stars back on the map. For those guys who are returning, what was the message after saying, okay, you're back on the map, but here's what's next?
Well, play with the chip on your shoulder, right? Like, we certainly don't like the way the season ended. We got some just dreadful bounces in that game 3, and I thought we were the better team, but hats off to the Waterloo Blackhawks for winning a game. But it was a tough way to end a great season, and we thought we had more to give. And so when your season ends as abruptly as it did, you're gonna leave with a sour taste in your mouth. And so our guys are hungry to get back to the Clark Cup playoffs. They want to continue to grow the brand and the awareness of the Lincoln Stars here in the city, and just as much give back to the community, and spend a lot of time doing community service work and being a part of all the things that occur in this great town. And they don't take being a Lincoln Star and living in Lincoln, Nebraska for granted. And that's really refreshing, because it's easy to lose sight of where you're at and what you're doing, and not be where your feet are. These guys all have big futures at the Division I level and beyond. And so, for us, it's let's focus on what we have in front of us right now. Let's be the best Lincoln Stars we can be before we move on to be Division I hockey players.
I've had a chance to kind of slowly talk with fans a little bit as we get closer to the season, as I'm able to, frankly. But one of the things that I've enjoyed hearing from fans was they said they felt like there was more fights in the preseason than there were all of last year. Why do you think this team's got a little bit more snarl than a year ago?
We're built a little differently. We were a little more skilled last year, and maybe not as big. This year we have a lot of skill. There's no question about that. You saw that in our 2 games. But we also have some guys with a physical presence about them, and Brennan Ali, who's a Detroit Red Wings draft pick, is a physical freak. He finished in the top 3 of every single category at the NHL Combine, and he plays with a relentless effort and pursuit of the puck, and he finishes his checks, and he's incredibly talented, but he also has no problem punching you in the face. And you look at other guys like Daniel Sambuco, he's going to Providence, and he's a high-end player who has no problem punching you in the face. And Jack Sparks, I can go down the line. Like, we have guys that have individual toughness, but I feel like what we have this year that maybe we didn't have last year is team toughness, where we all have the willingness to go and the willingness to have each other's back. And not to say last year's team didn't do that or have that, but you don't want to sit in the box for 15 minutes, right? And I think the difference is this group understands that if it's good for the team, then I'm willing to do it. And so you're going to see probably some more fights than we had last year. I still don't want guys sitting in the box for 15 minutes, but right place, right time, go ahead and drop them, and it certainly can't hurt the ticket sales.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be opposed to seeing a few more scraps. I think the one that stood out to me the most was Jack Sparks on Game 2 of the Fall Classic last week. It wasn't, he came up after a big hit on Patrick Raftery, came right over toward the boards. That was a situation where you said, we thought we should have had a 5-minute power play there. At the same time, how much do you like seeing Sparks just jumping in and, not to be punny, but being a spark plug.
You know what? I thought it was great. I've had zero conversations with Jack about that element of his game. He's a young player coming from a low level of hockey who's obviously physically a specimen at 6'8", drafted by the Los Angeles Kings, but more importantly, he's learning how to play that position. And so the physical side of things that he's willing to bring, that reaction that he had there changed the complexion of that game. Our guys got really excited. Their guys got a little bit stressed. And we killed the first 2 minutes of the 5-on-5 playing 4-on-4, and then we immediately went and scored a power play goal. So I attribute that to his positive reaction. And you know what? His teammates looked at it and said, hey, he's got our back, and we'll have his, and we'll have everybody else's in the process.
Lincoln Stars home opener is coming up this Friday. They take on Sioux Falls. It's going to be a 7:05 p.m. puck drop. Should be a really fun night at the Icebox. It's also a BOGO ticket offer. Buy one ticket, get one free. You can get those now at LincolnStars.com.
Joel, let's see if we have any callers. Obviously, this is episode 1 of our 22-23 season, but we love when our fans call in. So if anybody's interested in asking our new voice of the Lincoln Stars, Joel Norman, or just me, the head coach, Rocky Russo, a question, call us on the Honda of Lincoln hotline at 402-464-5685.
And Rocky's going to do a better job at answering questions. I don't know how I felt about you doing an intro for me in a way at the beginning. I'm used to doing it the other way around, Rocky.
Well, and more often than not, you're going to do it. But I wanted to give you the proper welcome to the Outside the Box show here and on 93.7 The Ticket. And it's cool. I love DP. I got to, I always pop in a couple minutes early, and inevitably he ends up dragging me in for a couple minutes, which I love. And it was really cool. We got to chat there for the last 2 minutes of the previous show, but I can't say enough about these guys here at the Ticket and what they're growing when it comes to support for local athletics, the Huskers and us here with the Lincoln Stars. DP has been just a game changer for us, and the support that we're getting from them is fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, you asked me a little bit about my college. I want to ask you about this. So I've seen you with lots of Ohio State stuff. Now, obviously, we're here nearby the campus of UNL. How does that work for you? I mean, do you just, even though you live here, do you kind of cheer for them a little bit so much as long as they're not playing Ohio State?
So that was one of the first questions that I got asked last year, and actually, the Huskers played the Buckeyes at home last year, and it was great because we played on Friday night. We had Saturday off. They played Saturday at 11 a.m., and I had tickets for that game. I am born and raised in Youngstown, Ohio. Grew up a Buckeye fan, but I grew up a Youngstown State University fan.
Okay.
And at the time, Jim Tressel was the head coach at YSU. So this is the early 90s. I'm 9-10 years old. They're winning national championship after national championship. He gets the head coaching job at Ohio State, and we supported Ohio State my whole life, and I've always been a huge Buckeye football fan, and so the fine folks here in Lincoln know that I am a Husker supporter in all ways except for when they're playing the Buckeyes. And DP has accepted that. He's accepted that. He knows that the Scarlet and Gray run deep with me, but I love the Huskers, and we always support them and root for them. And we've talked a lot of Husker football on this show. Probably don't want to talk Husker football right now. Things are a little bit down, and I certainly have my opinion on how things are going. It was a tough situation there when Scott got fired, and I think that perhaps Scott's loyalty to his defensive coordinator ultimately got him fired. And there's a part of me that respects that. He brought him with him from UCF, and he loved him and wanted to see him succeed. And unfortunately, it probably cost him his job. But I think Scott is a good coach, and I think he's going to resurface somewhere and do a good job. But, I grew up in the Tom Osborne era, and I got to meet Tom last year. It was a very special moment for me as a 40-year-old man getting to meet somebody that I looked up to. And, Tommy Frazier running around that that stadium when I was a kid and seeing them win national championships. So I would love to see them get back to prominence and, be a contender and in the conversation when it comes to national championships. It's going to take some time because you have to build a football program for the long term. And, the other guy they had a couple years ago was Bo Pelini. Bo Pelini's from Youngstown, Ohio. Like, I've known Bo for a lot of my life. Bo's father and mother-in-law were some of my dad's very best friends. And so, Bo's a cranky man, but he won a lot of football games when he was here, but he couldn't really get him over the hump. And I think they wanted to hopefully get over the hump. And unfortunately, I think they took a few steps back in that process. So, I'm optimistic that things can move forward here and they can grow this program. And Trev Alberts is a guy that has a lot of experience at very high levels. And, I think he knows what it takes to help a program like that grow. They certainly don't lack for finances. If you're going to pay Scott $15 million out the door, they could have held him for another 10 and cut that in half, 10 days and cut that in half. But, that's how passionate the supporters and the donors and the alumni are for Cornhusker football. And so, I hope I'm around long enough here to see them in that playoff, as long as Ohio State's on the other side of the bracket.
Well, with it being expanded, that's certainly a possibility here in a couple of years.
Yeah, and you know what? I think an expansion for college football will be fantastic. Obviously, I'm fortunate as a Buckeye fan that they're always in that conversation for those four, but how cool would it be to see 12 and, to see some of those intriguing matchups and see some of these teams that, you just don't have a chance if your name's not Alabama or Ohio State or Clemson. Like, you really don't have a chance to get in. Now, Georgia has worked their way into that conversation, which is great. Oklahoma kind of by default because they were the team coming out of the Big 12 for a long time. But how many years did the Pac-12 just get shut out, not get any teams because the SEC is getting two and everybody loves the SEC and I understand it, but let's get some of those other teams in. Let's get some of those Boise States of the early 2000s, mid 2000s that can go in there and beat somebody. And I think it would be just fascinating TV for the fans to watch.
I like it a lot because initially I was against expansion with the college football playoff, but you look at how the bowl games that aren't CFP games have gone in recent years. I don't think most people care, even sometimes if there are teams in there, because there isn't as much significance in general, just from the fact that if you're not playing for a national title or a New Year's Six bowl, and even then, if that's the case, if you're a draft eligible player, why risk it for a glorified exhibition?
Look, Ohio State played in the Rose Bowl last year.
Yeah.
And their top two receivers sat out. And granted, like it gave guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jackson Smith and Jigba, some younger guys the opportunity to shine on a big stage. And Jigba was unbelievable last year. He hasn't played this year because he's been hurt, but he was unbelievable all year, even with Olave and Wilson. And so those guys sit out because they're not playing for national championship. As a fan, you're like, well, I want to see these guys play more. Like they're going to the NFL, and I know they're going to play in the NFL, and that's great. It's cool to watch them when they go on and play. But I've lost a little love for the NFL, and I feel like the two games are different. And now, because it's become such a business, if you're not playing for a national championship, so many of these guys opt out, and that's frustrating when you're just a true fan of the game.
I don't blame fans for being upset, but I also don't blame players.
I don't blame the players at all. I mean, what was it? Jake Butt from Michigan a couple years ago tears his ACL in the bowl game, and
Jalen Smith with Notre Dame 1 year.
I mean, that cost Jake Butt like huge in the draft. It cost him huge money, and a lot of these guys now we can talk about the money that they're getting from NIL. We're talking about millions of dollars. So I think. I think that CJ Stroud spent like $65,000 buying everybody on the football team a $600 suit. And, that's unheard of. Like that would have been immediately flags going up and, NCAA violation a couple years ago. Now these guys are able to do that. I think that's awesome. I also think we've unleashed something that we're not going to be able to control. And it's going to turn into it could potentially turn ugly. And now the transfer portal's wide open. And so you've changed the entire landscape of college sports, but specifically the big money sports, right? The football and the basketball is just going to forever be changed. And you'll see if you recruit to a smaller school, a great player, and he has an unbelievable freshman year, you can just as well he's gone. Yeah. He's gone. There was a goalie at Mercyhurst last year, completely unrecruited goalie that Mercyhurst gave him a chance at the very end of the recruiting cycle. He comes in, he has an unbelievable year. Nobody wanted this kid. Nobody. He has an unbelievable year. All of a sudden, boom, he's in the portal and he's gone to the University of North Dakota. One of the perennial best programs in the country. So now you're seeing what wasn't intended, but a bigger gap between the big schools and the smaller schools. And that's ultimately what is going to occur in college football, because the rich are going to get richer. And we could talk about whether this money was being dished out prior. We all know it was. The difference is now it's fair game, but if you're Alabama, you're not going to hurt. Ryan Day comes out and says, I need X amount of millions of dollars to satisfy my NIL needs to get the guys we want. No problem. How does the next tier of schools compete? How does Nebraska, who should be potentially in that top tier, how do they compete with the likes of Clemson and Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State to get those players? That's where you're going to find out what damage this has caused over the next couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it comes down to who you're going to hire as well. And, you look overall, it looks like we're getting a caller coming in here. It looks like who is in here? Kyler's coming in.
Kyler, welcome to Outside the Box with myself and Joel Norman. How you doing tonight?
Might have left us.
Oh, Kyler left. Kyler, call us back. We apologize. We got a little off topic, but hopefully we can get Kyler back here after the break. We're looking forward to a lot more great conversation with Joel and myself. We've got a couple great guests coming to join us in the second half of the show. So make sure and stay tuned. We'll be back here in just a couple minutes with Outside the Box.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza, the big one, all the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Casey's General Stores is giving away 2 tickets to each Nebraska football home game this season. To enter, just head to any Casey's General Store location in Lincoln during the football season, scan the QR code at the front counter, and fill out the online form. One winner will be chosen at random 2 days before that week's game. So head over to Casey's, stock up on all your tailgating snacks and drinks, and register to win 2 tickets to a Nebraska football game, brought to you by Casey's General Store and 93.7 The Ticket.
Mike Shaver here for Trek CBD. Summer is here, and that means you're having garage parties with neighbors, hitting the golf course and the pool. The drink of this summer isn't your typical seltzer. It's drinkable Delta 8. Yep, Trek CBD has drinkable Delta 8 seltzers with mango and lime flavors for 4-packs, 12-packs, coming in a variety of mango, watermelon, lime, and berry. They also have hemp-derived Delta 9 syrups to put in your beverages, and as always, the excellent Delta 8 gummies. Trek CBD at 84th and Andermatt and TrekCBD.com. Trek CBD, CBD done right.
Wow. Did you ever save me money on my car?
Yes, that's why our customers keep coming back.
How do you do it, friendly car dealer ?
We simply have low overhead and high trade-in values. The next line's yours.
Oh.
Ready for something better? Mullen Motors is a no-hassle, no-pressure dealership with financing available. Check out the inventory at MikeMullenMotors.com.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
At Venue Catering and Events, we offer 2 of the most historic ballrooms in Lincoln. The Jasmine Room, located in the historic Grand Manse in the heart of downtown, featuring a beautiful built-in antique bar, spacious patio, and soaring skylit ceilings. The Scottish Rite Ballroom, located just 2 blocks from the state's capital, boasts intricate hand-carved columns, rich dark wood floors, and lavish chandeliers. The perfect venues to host your wedding, corporate event, or much more. For availability and more information, call us at 402-603-6483.
It's time for Outside the Box with Lincoln Stars head coach Rocky Russo and Lincoln Stars broadcaster Joel Norman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know?
Welcome back into Outside the Box here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Joel Norman, the voice of the Lincoln Stars, alongside head coach Rocky Russo. And Rocky, our first 2 guests of the year, 2 guys who were pretty much a part of all the action, it felt like, last week at the Fall Classic, Tanner Ludke and Mason Marcellus. You and I talked about them plenty, clicking on the same line together. And guys, welcome onto the show here.
Let's be veterans here. Get close to the microphone. First of all, guys, I think we might need to change some of the music here for the radio show. This was our win song last year, right? And so
that was the first question I was going to ask you guys. What's the win song this year?
So that was our win song last year, and then obviously the Ride the Train thing is the thing with the Stars. I'm not really sure why. I never got to the bottom of why we ride the train with the Stars, but I kind of like it. But that was a great win song. These guys chose their own win song this year, as they always do, and so maybe we'll incorporate the song this year with our show on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I don't know if our win song's set in stone yet, because it could definitely use some work. Yeah, it was picked on the spot, so it probably needs some work. Hopefully Doug's listening right now.
What'd you use in Pittsburgh when you won? You don't even remember. That's
you don't remember.
I have no clue. It might have been like Good Feeling or something.
It was like, I got a feeling.
Yeah, okay, I thought so.
Tonight's gonna be a good night or something. I don't know. The Green
Eyed
Peas.
Black Eyed Peas. Know your music, man. Oh my goodness.
The Green Eyed Peas. Come on, Tanner.
It's all right. We're on a sports talk station, not a music station.
For sure. You know what? Like, I didn't mind it. But we didn't settle in on that song last year right away either. So I think that needs a little bit of fine tuning potentially. If Doug or you guys would like to converse with me about some ideas, I've got 18 years of junior hockey experience that I could bring to the table, and we had some pretty cool songs back in the day that maybe you want to incorporate or not. You know, it's only my job to tell you to hit it before I walk out of the locker room, and then it's your room to have fun after we win.
I was going to ask you guys that. You mentioned Doug a couple times. Does he have the aux cord in the locker room?
Yeah, for the most part, he's kind of followed up. Daltz had it last year, and I think Daltz showed him most of the.
Daltz did not have it that much
Daltz
last
had it
year.
all, like every game day.
Game day, fine, okay, game day.
In the room, it was like Mastro playing the weirdest.
Mastro played weird music. Laba. For like the worst was when Gleb would get it.
Oh.
And so,
That's
you know,
CD this year.
Or I would have to go in and be like, all right, Antonio, take the aux, play me some Tupac
Jimmy
and some
Buffett.
Biggie and some Jimmy Buffett. Like, you guys know what I like. So they're smart enough to, if coach is in a bad mood, I can tell they know. And all of a sudden there's some music pumping out of the locker room to put me back in a good one.
They got a Rocky playlist, I
Yeah.
guess you just go to, right?
Sambuco's got something that you've complimented a few times. He's got some good music.
That's my guy. He's a Philly guy. That's why.
That's it. That's the connection.
I can't say I approve as a Pittsburgher, but
Well, I only say Philly guy because I lived in Philly for 4 years. I mean, anybody that knows me knows that my love and affection is for the Penguins. My wife is from Philly. She's a Flyer fan, and so I'm grooming my children to be Penguins fans, so they don't have to live the horror of never seeing a Stanley Cup like she has. But right now they have their occasional Flyers shirt, and I let it happen for now. But when Ronnie gets a little older and Cammie gets a little older, we'll we'll steer them in the right direction, Joel.
You pick your battles in marriage, and you're just working on this one. So I see how that's going. What about you guys? What's your favorite NHL teams?
I'm a Blackhawks fan. I hopped on the bandwagon when they were good. Not gonna lie. I'm from Ottawa, but I don't.
No sense for you, Mason.
No, this I would never.
What would you
cheer
think
for
of
the
Giroux
Sens.
going there?
I think they had a great offseason. I mean, they added some big names, but not enough to make me cheer for them.
That's a fair answer.
What about you, Tanner?
Yeah, I'd say mine is probably the Pittsburgh Penguins. Just always growing up, I was a Crosby fan. So I actually started an Ovechkin fan, and I converted to Sid.
Good choice.
Yeah,
Good choice.
Well, why'd you switch then? Let me ask you that.
I think the older I got, I just kind of like respected Sid's game, his full game more. And I don't score that many goals like Ovi does. So
you do this.
so I'm a Penguins fan now. I love them.
Maybe you realize that 50 goals and minus 50 in a year for Ovechkin probably wasn't the
Not
best
worth
thing. So,
Yeah.
However, Mason, I mean, now you've got a little bit of a connection to the Sens with the 8-year, $64 million deal that Daltz's brother Josh got to pot 35 goals for the Senators last year. So I know that I got some pretty fun pictures from Daltz and Cole and Josh this summer after Josh signed his contract. So I know that they celebrated in a very responsible way.
Yeah, definitely responsible family. I went there after main camp, and I saw like Josh and Cole and all them. So it was like a few weeks before he signed, and I think Josh knew it was coming because.
Oh, he knew it was coming.
He definitely acted like
I
it
mean,
was coming.
he scored 35 goals
I know,
last year.
You got to expect something big after that.
You bought 35 in the National. You're gonna deal.
What a great family. Dalton was an unbelievable leader for us, right? Those are big shoes to fill. And our leadership group from last year was really special. Joe LeMay, very aggressive man, but somebody that led by example, pushed his teammates out of his comfort zone, and just worked his tail off. Like, are you guys starting to see some leadership bubble to the surface in our locker room? Obviously, I can see it, and I see our culture really taking hold. But how have you guys taken the step as a group of keeping the fire going and taking over those responsibilities?
There we go. I mean, I guess it's a little cliche, but I feel like we still have a bunch of guys that kind of could wear a letter this year. Like, there's so many leaders, and everyone leads in their different way. Like, I mean, we've mentioned Dougie a few times. He's verbal. He's very good at like motivating guys, but you have other guys like Boston's a new guy this year, but he works his tail off every single practice. He's second skating every day. Like, he's working really, really hard. But I don't know. I don't know if I could name our captains right now. I think it's kind of hard. There's so many leaders in the room.
Yeah, I would say looking at it this year, like you said, there's a lot of guys that could wear a letter. I think looking at it last year and coming back this year, kind of being a younger guy, you like Joe LeMay, you talked about, he works so hard. And I think you don't really realize how hard you have to continually work through the year at juniors. And so kind of being under Joe's wing last year a little bit and, learning from him, you realize how much harder you have to work and the optional skates you got to go to and show up in the weight room every day, because those things make a big difference. So, but
well, we talked about that a little bit earlier, Joel.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the importance of not only having great players now, but having great players on your affiliate list and really drafting well and then developing your young guys. And, you look at yourself, Tanner, as a great example. You were an affiliate guy that got the opportunity to play before and after and go back and have a successful high school season. But then you look at, Keaton Peters, who spent the majority of the season with us, Patrick Rafter, who spent the entire season with us, Dashiell Oliver, who kind of did the same thing. He was pegged to return to us in his postseason and unfortunately got injured. And, I think that experience, and you can speak on a little bit, is invaluable for somebody in your shoes.
Yeah, I think, like everyone's journey is different. Everyone's path is different. But even for me, like the 24 games I played last year, it's huge. And it's kind of one of those
Doesn't
things.
get you veteran status, though.
No. The boys made that very clear. I'm still fighting for tweener status, but right now I'm still a rookie. We'll figure that out later.
But
I can vote in on that. I might give you tweener status.
I love
I'm
this.
not-
I'm
yeah,
bringing this
yeah.
up tomorrow. in
Yeah,
court.
we got to talk about
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Just got to pull this clip later. And show you. Look, it was on the radio.
But no,
They do that. Last year, I called Mastro. I said Mastro couldn't catch on the radio show, and he was so mad at me the next day. He's like, "Bring the football, coach. I'll show you. I can catch it. I swear I can catch it."
He's so that guy. Yo, yeah, and then the next day it was like 80 degrees in Lincoln, and we me, Mastro, and Nelly all lived at a house together, and so we like had the sprinklers going, and we're like in our underwear outside, and I like hiked a football to Nell, and he threw it to Mastro, and he caught it. We took a video of it and sent it to Rock. And
Oh yeah, I was sitting at the dinner table, and I'm like, first of all, what are these clowns doing running around in their boxer shorts in the front yard? But Mastro made a point to let me know that he could absolutely catch football. So, Michael, if you are listening, we know you're an athlete. There's nothing to be concerned about.
Tanner, a big thing for you, though, you talked about the experience you got last year, kind of the taste. You had one goal in that time. You were busy with the high school action. You jump in this year, 2 goals in game number one of them matching last year's total in 14 seconds. How cool is that? Did you kind of feel like maybe I'm getting more comfortable, so to speak, in this league?
Yeah, I think obviously it kind of helped with just getting to work this summer, but then coming back, I felt really good at main camp, and I felt really good in preseason. Obviously when you're playing with 2 returners and a guy like Marcy and Doug who have played in leagues or played in the AJ, that they know how to get things done, and they make it easy for a guy like me. So it was pretty cool to get that goal, but I think we're clicking well right now, so it's a success for everyone.
And Mason, let me ask you about this. You played with a ton of different talented players just in your 2 years here with Lincoln. Obviously, everyone who you're with on the line right now on the second line, the 2 others are returners as well. Has that helped a lot with your chemistry with them?
Yeah, I think so. Just coming in, we're comfortable with each other like right away. Like we're coming off the bench and we're telling each other what we're seeing. And I mean, we played the one preseason game together and it went really well. And then we just kind of rolled with it. And I don't know, I'm loving it so far. They both kind of bring something new, and I love it.
I don't think in my career I've ever had a line go wire to wire and play together for 60 games. So
maybe it's the first line.
Fun right now, but
maybe it's the first line.
I'd be happy to see it be the first line or the first time that it happens. I think what I have had a lot of times is that line come together, play really well for a long stretch, maybe have a little cooling off period. We break them up, we put them back together. And I remember a couple years ago, I had a line in Amarillo of Logan Genuine, who had 60 goals in 60 games. Gabriel Seeger, who's a 6'5" center who has been dominating college hockey, and Alex Peterson. And they were literally unstoppable. And I ended up breaking them up for maybe 5 or 6 games. And they were so mad at me. And I had coached Petey for a couple years, and Genuine is, he's an open book, and he's in my office just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? Like, I'm so mad at you. I don't like you. I'm not he's like giving me the silent treatment. And so I made them marinate away from each other for 5 or 6 games, and I put them back together, and they had like 7 goals in the next game. And they would just come back to the bench and sit down and stare at me. And I'm like, all right, fine, you can play together, but you better have 7 again tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. We gotta remember this story. We do.
What's that like for you guys? Preseason, you kind of jumped around. You mentioned a few different lines. Do you not really mind who you're with, or is it kind of like you like the little bit of familiarity?
I think like me coming in, I kind of expect to just play with a whole bunch of different guys because it's a whole new group. So as a coaching staff, I'm sure they want to see who clicks, who plays well together. So yeah, I didn't really mind it. I mean, I got to play with a whole bunch of new guys and different guys that, I mean, I don't know if I'll play with them again, but it was fun while it lasted, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, you never really know who you're going to be playing with. And obviously last year kind of being like the 13th forward and a few games at the end, like you kind of get jumped around with everyone. So you got to be able to play with anyone at any time. And, like May said, like there's a lot of great skilled guys that work hard and play physical. So there's, it's not really too hard to play with anyone. Obviously Mace and Doug are ballers and I like playing with them, but it's been good.
From a coaching perspective, there's a fine line, right? Like I'm always I'm sitting up at night and I'm contemplating line combinations and who works well and who doesn't. And the Sambuco line, the Messick line last week, I didn't really love them in the first game. I thought they created some stuff offensively, but I didn't like the way they were playing in their own end. And and then I'm patient and I'm like, you know what? I like the combination of what's there. I like the different elements of skill, and you're always trying to fit the puzzle pieces together. And at the end of the day, there's a decision between letting them figure it out and building their chemistry, and then deciding that combination doesn't work. And so for me, I used to be, you could ask the guys that played for me 10 years ago, it was like in the blender every week because I had no patience. And, they would get frustrated with me. My captain would come in and be like, can you just let me play with one guy for more than 2 games in a row? And I'm like, well, play better then, but now I have a better understanding of the value of the chemistry, but you're always wondering, is there a different mix of guys that would do more? Like, is there, if these guys are good together, well, what if I put this guy with them? And, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I knew that their line would work right away. And I knew that for 2 reasons, because they're obviously all very good hockey players, but more importantly, they're all very comfortable in the systems. They know the structure, they know the expectations. And so that was a line that I put on paper right away. And I said, you know what, this line I can trust, right? I can trust them to go out and do things the right way. They can be a tone setter. If we get, momentum going the wrong direction, they can turn that around for us. They can level the ship when we need it. And then obviously, the power play works, right? And everybody kind of fits in good spots. Certainly when we get Tony back and eventually Nelly back, those guys are power play guys. But, if you look at where you guys are, right, you're in the same spot you were last year. Doug's in a very natural spot in front of the net. I think you had some bumper experience with us last year. Bucks is obviously, kind of filling the shoes of Joe. And then, right now we have Clavs hitting a one-timer right there. Clavs isn't Daltz. He might evolve into Daltz, but he isn't Daltz right now. But that's also a very natural spot for Tony, who did such a great job in that downhill route. You guys played on a power play with Tony and Mason last year. So, maybe Tony fits in there. Maybe Tony fits in on the other group. I think we have 2 first power play units. We don't have a 1 and a 2 unit. We have 2 units that are both really, really capable. And so when you have the pieces like that, you're always curious, Joel, can I do something different with them to give us an advantage? And so, it's a decision. Do you want to tinker with it or do you want to let it go? And right now you guys are safe. I'm going to let you go for a little while. At least until the first intermission on Friday.
So a little bit of security for right now.
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
A little bit. We've talked a lot about some guys you've been playing with who are returning players. Obviously, there's 14 of you guys overall. Let me ask you this. When you get done with practice, because you've got guys who've been around, and let's say you're going to food one day, where are you guys going in town because you're familiar with the town?
There's that one strip. There's like Panda, Chipotle, Poke. We're huge at Blaze. Like everyone on our team.
N Street. No. Q Street. Q Street.
Yeah, I think it's because I always call it O, but it's a Q.
It's Q.
I always look at it wrong.
That's that Canadian education you have.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, no, our team loves Blaze. Like once a week minimum, we go to Blaze.
They never go where I tell them to go.
Where have you told them to go?
And I went to the gyro, or I don't know how to say it.
Alibaba gyros.
Yeah, we went there.
Elite.
It was good.
Muchachos. Elite.
Yeah,
right?
Like
Muchachos, you gotta go get a brisket burrito.
Brisket burrito.
Unbelievable. You gotta go to Muchachos. It's the size of a football. Like diners, drive-ins, and dives. My guy Fieri was there. Like
really?
That place is outstanding. They know that I'm a poke bowl guy.
I love the poke bowls. Yeah.
So I'm in there a couple times a month for sure. But there's a lot more for these guys to explore in the city of Lincoln.
Oh, that's the beauty of it, I think, as well. Well, Tanner, Mason, thank you for joining us, obviously, this week. Rocky, this has been a lot of fun for the first one. Guys, real quickly, as we kind of sign off, what excites you the most about the home opener?
I mean, the fans, obviously, it's another player out there.
Just be back in the box.
Oh, we love the box.
Love
Just
it.
love it.
I'm pumped myself. First home game for
Oh,
me.
that's what we're
too.
most excited about.
Oh, I
Your
appreciate
first
that.
game.
Joel, thank you. We're
Thanks,
excited to have you join us this year. I'm looking forward to a great season here with the 2022-23 Lincoln Stars, and obviously more great shows here on Outside the Box.
It's going to be a ton of fun. Thank you, Rocky. Thank you to Tanner Ludke and Mason Marcellus for joining us as well. I'm Joel Norman. We hope to see you Friday at the Icebox, 7:05 p.m. puck drop, and we thank you for tuning in tonight on Outside the Box.
Wow. Did you ever save me money on my car?
Yes, that